This video is brought to you by Once Upon a Galaxy, the collectible card battler of cosmic proportions. Available now on Steam. Stick around to the end to find out more. I don't know if you've noticed, but we tend to like Soulslikes here at Second Wind. And almost every time we talk about them, we get a lot of comments about why people either hate or cannot get into the genre. So, for this slow news week, I wanted to make a video that directly addresses the people who have interest in the genre, but feel like they can't break into it, because that was also my direct experience with Soulslikes. It's a genre that I have come to love over the last few years, and I think I have a solid understanding of how I came around to enjoying it. To give a bit of background about my introduction to Soulslikes, I was also one of the players who just didn't get it when I first tried them. I attempted Demon's Souls on the PS3, and then Dark Souls, and I originally wrote the games off as overly difficult just for the sake of it. It was frustrating at the time because these games were completely up my alley as a fan of action and dark fantasy. Everyone I worked with seemed to love them, so not only were they games I wanted to play and enjoy, I also felt like I was missing out on these great experiences that everyone else wouldn't shut up about. That all changed when Mortal Shell, the debut game from indie studio Cold Symmetry, arrived in August 2020. To most who played it, Mortal Shell was a rather mediocre Souls-like experience, but it was the exact experience I needed. The game is quite small in scope, limited itself to just a few key mechanics, and was essentially able to introduce me to all of the basics of the genre in a package that wasn't immediately overwhelming once I'd walked through the door. It taught me the fundamentals of how I needed to play these games to enjoy them properly. While a beginner's guide would usually try to teach you different game mechanics or a bunch of little details you need to remember, this isn't one of those guides. I think breaking into the Souls-like genre is more of a test of how we've been conditioned to play and think about games. Games, in most cases, use death or failure as a punishment, and with punishment comes frustration. When I had first attempted Soulslikes, I was almost immediately frustrated that I couldn't beat the boss or a particularly difficult set of enemies on the path to the boss. But in Soulslikes, death is just part of the loop of learning how to play the game, in most cases. If there's a platforming section in a Dark Souls game, that's just the developers intentionally messing with you and trying to make you upset. The way I finally got over the hurdle of being frustrated with defeat was to just accept that I'm not going to beat whatever it is on the first attempt. That sounds simple to do, but when you've been conditioned to see game over screens as indicators of failure, it takes a bit of rewiring your brain to kind of get over that. When I enter a new area of a Souls-like game, I'm going in to just learn the moveset of the enemies, or the path I'm going to take, or where the locations of hidden items are. I have no expectation of myself to just push through and win. If there's a specific move a boss or enemy is doing that's tripping me up, sometimes I'll just focus on that specific move until I learn how to dodge or counter it, for example. The boss might kill me 20 times in the process, but as soon as I learn that move, the rest of the fight often becomes a cakewalk from there. Knowledge, I think, is the most important part of learning how to play Soulslikes. As long as you're learning something from each mistake you make, you are progressing. Most of the tips I will give you in this video are all going to relate back to knowledge. There's obviously still skill involved in playing these games, but over the years when I've gotten stuck at a boss, I've learned to just pin that specific move that's killing me and focus on learning to counter it. You're going to die a lot in Soulslikes, but if you can get over the frustration of losing, then I think the genre quickly opens up and you become much more focused on learning rather than winning. The aspect of the Souls-like genre that keeps drawing me back is exploration. Exploration is key to preparing for the challenges ahead in the game, because it directly ties back to making the game easier for yourself. I think a lot of times when people get started out in Soulslikes, they treat the exploration as optional. They focus on just fighting enemies and acquiring the currency needed to level up their character because, again, that's how we've been conditioned to play RPGs. XP or leveling up means improvement, and improvement often means lessening the challenge. While that aspect is present in Souls-like games, exploration is what leads you to stronger weapons or new items that can give you extremely important passive buffs, level up your healing items, upgrade your equipment, or unlock secret paths that make getting back to the boss easier. When I stopped just trying to find my way to bosses and spent more time in trying to explore every nook and cranny of these intricately designed worlds, that's when the genre truly clicked for me. It was also when I realized that it wasn't getting stuck at a boss that I was dreading, but the run back to get there, and losing whatever currency I had collected, or having to use my limited healing items on the way. My number one priority when playing any Souls-like these days is to explore every inch of the location I'm in before I do anything else. Not only will it reward you with the items I mentioned, but it's also an organic way for you to essentially grind up your character along the way. This is the most obvious of the points I'm making in this video, but I think it's the most important. The Souls-like genre is hard, but putting the time into understanding the general loop of these games makes them manageable and a lot of fun. And people aren't kidding when they talk about the feeling of accomplishment you get from finally taking down that boss that's been kicking your ass for hours. I used to believe that only people who liked weird forms of punishment enjoy these games, but now that I've played a ton of them, I get it. There's a type of satisfaction in Souls-likes that you just don't get from any other games. Learning the moveset of a difficult boss, and the ensuing duel made possible by your mastery of the mechanics. Fighting your way through a difficult section to get to the checkpoint that unlocks a path directly to the boss. Finding secret areas off the beaten path and the challenges that follow, which are oftentimes the toughest in the game and completely optional. Souls-likes are constantly rewarding you for being patient with them, and everything you achieve in these games feels earned. It's what keeps me coming back to the genre over and over and over again now that I've fallen in love with it. But it took a lot of patience to get there. These games are often obtuse in their mechanics, have incredibly challenging boss fights, and usually include entire areas that are designed just to piss you off. Looking at you, Poison Swamps. But if you put the time in, I think you'll find a genre that offers you a unique and hard to put down experience almost every time. With all of these principles in mind, I've put together a list of Souls-likes that I've categorized into different levels of experience with the genre. This isn't a complete list of Souls-like games or even the best Souls-likes, but the games I've personally played and would recommend to you. For beginners, I would recommend Mortal Shell, Anatria the Last Song, and Steel Rising. These Souls-likes are generally quite easy to complete, with bosses that have simple movesets, levels that are easy to navigate, and a shorter list of mechanics to contend with. They're good for getting into the flow of how the genre works in a package that's limited in scope and difficulty. They err on the side of mediocre experiences overall, so don't go into them expecting Game of the Year material, but they're competent enough games that will teach you all of the fundamentals in the genre. The next set of games are what I would consider the meat of the genre. If you can play and beat the games in the beginner's recommendations, then you understand how Souls-likes work now, and you can carry that forward into more difficult experiences. For intermediate level Souls-likes, I'd recommend Lords of the Fallen, Dark Souls 1 or 3, or Bloodborne. The reboot of Lords of the Fallen will be the easiest of these games, and it's my personal favorite of the bunch, specifically because of its world design. Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3, and Bloodborne all offer the quintessential From Software experience that people rave about all the time. Intricate map designs, excellent boss battles, and all the exploration you could ask for. These games aren't easy, but if you can make it through any one of them, then I'd argue you can manage the majority of the games in the genre going forward. The final set of games are what I would consider only for experts of the Souls-like genre. At this level, I would recommend Elden Ring, Lies of P, and one of my most recent favorite Souls-likes, Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers. These are the games that are going to be the most challenging to complete, not only because of their difficulty, but also because they require the use of more specific mechanics to master, like frequent parrying. Even after playing many Souls-likes, these are the three that had me actively bashing my head against the wall for many hours against multiple bosses and areas within the game. I'd only attempt these games if you feel like you've mastered the mechanics of the Souls-like genre and are ready for a really intense and stressful challenge. Okay, I lied. There is one section beyond expert, and it's the I hate myself section, and it's reserved for the DLCs of most of these games. I'll let you read the comments section for people's experiences there. For a long time, I thought I would never get into the Souls-like genre. I had convinced myself that I didn't like super difficult games and that Souls-likes were just built to be unfair. And to be clear, there are definitely bullshit bosses in a lot of these games, and they still can make me irrationally upset at moments. But when they click, they really click. I'd go as far as to say that Souls-likes are my favorite genre of games these days, and despite the deluge of them that we're getting in recent years, I'm personally looking forward to playing as many as I can. Hopefully, if you're trying to break into the genre, these general tips can help you change your mindset about how you're playing Souls-likes, and let you discover some of your next favorite games.
This video is brought to you by Once Upon a Galaxy, the collectible card battler that hooked us earlier in the year on mobile, and it's now available on Steam. From the team that helped create Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone, Galaxy is fast-paced, free-to-play and fun, which are three of the four most important Fs in the English language, and I'll let you guess what the final one is. You'll put together a crew of iconic characters from across myth, legend and fiction, like Lightning Man, King Deceiver, and Whale Obsessor, in the most satisfying team-up since the combination of Pizza Hut and Taco Bell in one building. Yum? Question mark? If you like your games easy to pick up but incredibly deep to master, then Once Upon a Galaxy is for you. So what are you waiting for? Head over to Steam or your mobile app store of choice to start putting your Once Upon a Galaxy crew together today.